morning. We are on our leave day. We are on our go home day. I am red and flushed because we've just been putting stuff in the car and stuff's really heavy. It's all those 40-odd bouncy balls, little man. Tickets are still down here, but they haven't got to the car yet. Anyway, we've just cleared down the room. We're going to go for breakfast. It is a really grey and miserable day. It's not raining yet, but there's no way it's going to hold off. We will have breakfast. We'll probably spend a couple of hours in the arcade, let the kids get their jollies out. If it's not tipping it down, we might spend time in the park, but I'm not hopeful for that. Before we go home and see Dada and Fidget and obviously Worry Monster, who has now had his soul transfer back into his new body. So looking forward to seeing him there as well. That is about it. I'm going to go for coffee. It is grey, it is miserable outside. We've decided to spend our last hour or two in the arcade. Children are playing their favourite games. I'm not miserable, I'm exhausted. That's the sound of the voice of a mama who's been at Butlins for a week. I am tired. We're going to play here for a little bit. We're going to load up the coins, the token bags down here. We're not going to trade them in this time because we're actually here in September again, but we're going to run them through the machines. We just have to take tokens home rather than lots and lots of tickets. But of course we need to have a couple of goes on Wild West Shootout first because Sammy needs to get her psycho out. Off at the coin pushers because Riley's not quite ready to go home. That one is. We're having to balance the needs of both of them, which is always awkward. But she seems to have perked up a little bit. That is it, guys. That is a wrap for us. We are about to head out of Butlins. Randomly my car's just restarted. We're about to head out of Butlins. I will probably give you a quick update when we get home about how we've enjoyed it, what's been going on, things like that. But right now we are tired. Miss Samantha in the back isn't feeling 100%. She thinks she might be coming down with a cold or something. Hopefully nothing worse than that. So we're going to head home and we'll catch up with you guys in a little bit and I'll kind of give you our overall views of the place. So for now we're going to say bye bye Butlins.
Bye bye Butlins.
We'll see you in September. See you in a little bit, guys. Hello guys, as you can see we are back home now and things have changed. It's not been a day or so, I'm afraid it's been a couple of months actually since we got back. We went to Butlins in July. We went to Butlins in July and actually it's now the middle of August. The one thing we were determined not to bring back as a souvenir was any kind of illness so we could protect Dada a bit. Unfortunately that didn't work and we all came back with Butlins lurgy, big nasty cold. For me personally, it then inflamed my ear, which caused a whole load of dizziness and one thing after another, and now it's August. But I'm determined to finish this video and to let you guys know a little bit about our experience there. So first up is the accommodation. We slummed it this time, as we put it. We usually have one of the big 3-bedroom apartments, but actually we booked very, very last minute. At least for us, it was like 2-3 weeks before we went, so for us that's very last minute. And we ended up in just a silver room. It's 2 bedrooms, so the children had one and I had the second one. It was lovely actually. It wasn't perfect. It's Butlins, it's never going to be perfect. doesn't make it okay, Butlins. But there was some peeling laminate off the cupboards, you know, bits of dust behind the door. It wasn't fantastic, but generally it was clean. We walked in, there was no smell of damp, there was no obvious dirtiness. You could see it had actually been cleaned. And it was a good space. It was much bigger actually than I was anticipating. So we were actually impressed by the room, and it was close to the tent as well. So usually we end up over in the village that's all, I'll put it up on the screen, but it's the one that's named after all the animals, the water animals. Oyster Bay. It is Oyster Bay. We usually end up over there. And as much as the apartments are lovely, the walk to the tent is huge. And we didn't find that in Silver, so we actually really enjoyed the location. So apartment, for what we paid, was absolutely great. I'm looking at notes, please. Excuse me. So the entertainment. We enjoyed it, but we enjoyed it last time as well. It hasn't really changed in the last couple of years. So if you've been on a Butlins holiday before in the last few years, don't expect really anything new. There's a couple of changes to some of the shows. This year had much better singers, so well done Butlins for hiring someone that can actually sing for a change. That was brilliant. But the shows themselves haven't massively changed. It's still the same people, it's still the same show, it's still the same setup. They might do a different song here and there, but that's about it. Other than the pantomime, which does change every year. So this time we've had the premium dining. I'll be honest, we usually have the premium dining. I don't consider it a holiday if I still have to cook. When quite frequently I end up having to do different meals for the children because there's things that they won't eat. I'm not doing that on holiday, not cooking several different meals. So we always do premium dining. It's not bad for what it is. If you hear stomping in the background, it's Miss Fidget. It's not bad for what it is. If I refer to my notes a minute, we paid £270.60 for the 4 nights of food. So you get dinner when you first arrive on the Monday. You then get breakfast and dinner Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then you get breakfast Friday before you leave. And it seems like a lot, but when you think about dropping into Morrison's or the Lidl that they've got in Minehead before you come in, what you're going to spend for that week, and then take into consideration your time and your energy and effort levels, for us it just works out better to have the dining plan. Even the fussy of us could find something to eat every night. They always have a roast dinner, they have a themed night, so they'll have Indian or they'll have Mexican, or they usually have Chinese every night from where I can remember. They have the kids corner, which will have fish fingers one night, sausages, toad in the hole, chicken nuggets, which anybody can eat from. So if that's what you would prefer, you can absolutely eat from the kids corner, nobody raises an eyebrow. There's always jacket potatoes. There is something for everybody. They then have the live cooking stations, so they'll have a grill which will have the standard burgers and things, but then every night they do an extra, so it can be pork chops, it can be gammon, it can be a chicken breast burger. So they have that there. They also do a pasta station where you choose what shape pasta you want, which obviously is important with some of our kids, and what sauce you want, and they will kind of cook it up there for you. Their desserts are okay. They have cold puddings and then two hot puddings each evening. If you want something specific, grab it while you're grabbing your dinner. They're not very good at replenishing. They don't have enough to take you all through the evening. So dinner starts at 4:30 and I think it finishes around 7. If you get in there for 6, it's unlikely you're getting the best hot pudding. It will disappear. Things like apple pie and the crumbles tend to go much earlier in the evening, and they just don't put enough out for the rest of the night. So just be aware of that one, excuse me. Right, included in with dinner and breakfast is your drinks as well. So they have self-service machines. You can have coffee, tea, hot chocolate, fruit juices, and they kind of do squash. So their lemon and lime or their rose pear is almost like a squash rather than a juice. The only thing I'll point out is you do get tiddly glasses. The mugs are proper mug size, but the glasses are quite small. They're only like yay big. So you're either going to have to get several at a time or take your own glass down. It depends on what you fancy. We tend to get several at a time because we don't want to carry the glasses around with us. And I just make Sammy go back and forth, bless her. Right. Extra money. Let's be honest, these all-included places are never all-inclusive. But advantage with Butlins is you can pay what you want. If all the money you have got you put into the holiday, you do not have to buy a single extra. The fun fair's included, the soft play's included, all your shows are included. They have several play parks there that are included. The swimming's included. You don't have to pay for anything extra. You can. There are obviously the extras like the go-karts at the fun fair. Those are, I think, £7 a person. There's the climbing wall, there's the hiring of the go-karts around the place, there's the trampolines in the arcadey bit. There are loads of extras you can play with. I'm sorry if you can hear my dog snoring in the background. There are several extras that you can pay for, and the holiday can cost you an absolute fortune. But it's only if you want to. If you set your kids a limit, so you can do one extra thing a day, or you sit them down and say, honestly, we do not have the money for these extras. They are avoidable. You just have to set those expectations at the beginning. If your kids will allow expectations to be set, obviously. So we spend very little extra there, other than the arcade, which is where my kids get their dopamine hit from. We spend very little extra at Butlins. We may buy a coffee, we may buy some slushes. The children may go on the trampolines, although last time Riley did, he split his lip open trying to do a flip. So I'm a little gun shy of those now. But we don't tend to spec tons extra on all the extras. We just enjoy what is there. Is Butlins disabled friendly? Is it autism friendly? That depends on your autistic person. If you have sensory seekers like ours, yes, there's lots of sensory input. The pool is very sensory if you have a water seeker. And with the lazy river and the wave machine, it's brilliant. If you have a sensory avoider, it's exceptionally loud in there. They have loud music blaring and the whole place echoes, and there's a lot of people, so there is a lot of noise. It depends whether you've got a seeker or an avoider. The tent is very loud, there's a lot of people. The fun fair is very loud, there's a lot of people. So it really depends on whether you have a seeker or avoider. If you have an avoider, you could really struggle here. Yes, you can put things in place like having their, if they have one, their wheelchair or their mobility buggies, they have their safe space. You can have their safe toys with them and you can have a set of ear defenders. And all of these things will help. But if you have a sensory avoider, I would expect that Butlins is going to massively overwhelm them. Luckily, my two are generally seekers, and although they can't deal with the loud noises, they both have ear protectors. Riley has the overhead ones at the moment, and Sammy has the loop ear defenders that go in your ears. These do help. They have their emotional support softies with them most of the time, and we take breaks in the day to give them that break. But it is a struggle, I'm not going to lie. Also, Butlins Minehead does not have anything in place to help your autistic people. So they advise for things like queuing, that you buy their VIP passes, which allow you to queue early, get into the venues early and pick your own table. But obviously those do come at an extra charge. I want to say they're about £20 a person. And I believe the carer with the appropriate documentation can have a free one, but that's still £20 a person, and that does add up. It's an extra cost. Other than that, they don't have anything in place to help you. They will allow one person to queue and then the family to join them, but if you're there as a single parent, or it takes more than one parent to look after your person, then that's not viable. Make of it what you will. We tended for the shows to turn up last minute and just accept the fact we were going to have rubbish seats. If your person doesn't mind about where they sit, then that's certainly a viable option, and it's what worked for us. That way we weren't queuing for a huge amount of time, because people will start queuing an hour before the shows. Ours can't deal with that, so we just turned up at the last minute, kind of 5-10 minutes before the show is due to start, walk straight in, but obviously you do not get the best seats for that. You need to figure out what works well for your family. That's what worked well for us. In terms of is it disabled friendly for your wheelchairs? Riley used his wheelchair for the second half of the week because he started suffering with sensory overwhelm and his knees were starting to hurt him quite a lot. So he was in his chair for the second half. You can get around pretty much anywhere. If you're going into centre stage, which was actually closed for our break, I believe it's reopening in September, I think the rumours are. That only has one lift. We've had this problem before, and it's one lift for about 2,000 people, and all the buggies need to go up in it as well, and you can only fit one in at a time, so you cannot fit 2 buggies or 2 wheelchairs. That is a nightmare, and you can be queuing for quite a while. I think in the end we gave up and we just carried Riley down in his wheelchair because we couldn't wait around for any longer. You can get around everywhere else. There's ramps everywhere. The terrain actually isn't horrendous, so it's not that uncomfortable. They do only have one disabled toilet in the tent, and I will be honest, everybody else will use it. And I understand invisible illnesses. I have them myself. Samantha obviously has an invisible illness condition with autism and ADHD. However, a lot of people will just use it when they want to have a poo and they don't want to poo in the normal toilets. So A, they're kind of gross when you go in there, and B, there will always be a wait for it, and there is only one, and it's not radar keyed. So just be aware of that one, that you'll be waiting. I do believe they've now just opened a changing places near the New Sky Park, but that wasn't available on our break. So we are returning back to Butlins, so obviously it wasn't a bad break. We are going back in September with Dada, with Richard. We're going back the second week of September once all the schools have gone back. We will be doing the dining plan again because, as I said, I don't cook on holiday. So we're doing a 3-bedroom suite, not suite, apartment, because those are different words in Butlins, and it will be the 4 of us going. We're going to try out the drinks package this time. So Butlins has not long launched a all-inclusive drinks package. So you get all your sodas and fruit juices, mocktails, some spirits, cocktails, beers, wines, ciders, coffees, teas and hot chocolate. So it's from places that are proud to serve Costas, not actually Costas, unfortunately. But we are doing that this time as well as a difference. We don't drink enough at Butlins, and although it is quite expensive, I think it's £180 for the 4 of us for the 4 nights, which is way more than we'd usually spend on drinks. But 1, we want to trial it, and 2, we may actually drink more and not get dehydrated. So there'll be more on that in obviously that vlog. Now on to the burning question. If I still have you all here, did we ever get Worry Monster returned to us? We didn't. Worry Monster is now, well, Worry Monster's body is now with a new owner. Worry Monster was never handed back to us. We did a soul transfer to get his body, get his soul back to his old body, and Dada looked after him until we came home. We're very lucky that we have previously set up this process of the soul transfer. It does mean that should your support softie get lost, stolen, or just manky beyond repair because our children and people do really overlove their support softers, it means that we can soul transfer into a new body. And certainly in Samantha's case, that is accepted. And that has made a big difference. Obviously, we never expected Worry Monster to be stolen, but he was. That has made a big difference to Samantha's acceptance. She amazingly didn't have meltdowns about it while we were on holiday still. She just accepted that he had been soul transferred back and that Dad was looking after him and she could see him in the next few days. So if you can set that up with your kids, I absolutely would set that up with your kids. Or autistic adults, however that works and looks like for your family. Sorry, one moment. We live on a major road, so we get all the emergency services going through to cut through town, so I apologise. You'll probably find another 3 go past in a minute. Having that process in place meant that actually it stopped Samantha from continually obsessing about the loss of her friend. There's going to be more going past, sorry. Samantha can get stuck in obsessional thinking, and this is something that she would have obsessed over for years. Because she now knows that that other person has the empty shell of Worry Monster and not actually Worry Monster, that obsessional thinking has been minimal. She still goes back to it occasionally, but this would have been really bad and she would have really struggled to overcome it. I don't know much more to say other than obviously we've done well with having that set up and it's something she can accept. So that's our holiday in a nutshell. We had a great time. We had very few problems. The ones we've highlighted to you. If there is anything else you guys would like to know about Butlins, if there's any questions you've got to ask, if there's anything specific you would like us to show in the September ones, just let us know down below and we will talk it through with you. We'll show you everything we can show and we'll hopefully answer your questions. But for now, that is the end of this series, so we will say goodbye and we will see you really soon. Bye guys.